What's up? What's up? What's up, y'all? How y'all doing? I'm in Dunfermline, Scotland. Nice town, close to Edinburgh. Just getting ready for a gig tomorrow. Got a day off today. We just had two great London shows. One of which I think was probably the best show we ever did. Certainly the best London gig we've ever done, I think. But it was so much fun. Somebody's saying you're always late coming on stage. Hey, man, I'm like 2 minutes late. Just build a little anticipation, you know? But anyway, great London shows, Cadogan Hall. Really fun. And then we did a good one last night as well in Salford, which is right by Manchester. It's a venue we always play there. And it was really good. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. Just really fun. It's Wayne Banks' birthday, our awesome bassist and classic rock show staple. He's been here since the beginning, well before me. Great guy as well. Killed the bass player. Anyway, happy birthday, Wayne Banks. There's somebody that saw us on Friday. Also a great night. I just Saturday, for whatever reason, for me, just totally elevated. But you might be like, I don't know, is it the same if you saw if you were to see both shows? But yeah, maybe just as a personal feeling or something. But Friday was great too. Friday was great. Saturday was, in my opinion, even better. And then last night was sorry, I'm getting the days wrong. Thursday night. Because it's the reason I'm getting the days wrong is because we always play Cadogan Hall in London on a Friday and Saturday. This year we did Thursday, Friday, and then we did last night, Saturday, Salford, Manchester. So excuse me, you were there on Friday. You saw the rockin' one, the one that I loved. The other one I liked a lot. Thursday night. There's also a distinct thing in England because it's definitely there's a drinking party culture on the weekends for sure. So Friday and Saturday tends to be the nights tend to be a little crazier, especially after the interval in the middle of the set where everybody goes out and gets some beers because they don't have to work tomorrow. So yeah, that's just the way it goes. But anyway, everything's going good. We're getting close to about halfway through the tour now. And having a great time. What you guys talking about here? Earl says he's building a pedal board around the AM4 and VP4 H90 and 2. Man, that's a lot of you got some serious time-based effect power going on there. What preamp are you using? And Braxall says can't wait to see with the Satchvi in April. Be good to see you again. We'll get out there and rock and roll. Good times, good times, good times. What's happening musically in my land? Well, just constant tours until the summer. So mainly focused on that. And then as far as like new music from me, I do have news this week. Actually, there's something coming, but I can't tell you exactly what it is yet because it hasn't been released, and it's a collaboration project that I was involved in, where we got to record a cover of one of my favorite songs, and you'll see what it is this week with one of my favorite singers of all time. I played all the guitars on it, and some other friends were involved playing on it. It's Kenny Aronoff on drums and stuff. You'll see it coming this week, I believe. I think I don't have the day right, but when it gets released, I'll be sharing it right away. I'm not the artist. I'm just part of the band that was a part of the. Well, I guess I'm part of the artist. So I am sort of one of the artists involved in a collaboration. Selling myself short here, but anyways, it's really turning out good, I think. So I'm excited about that. So that'll be coming this week. That's an actual track that I'm on, and the first time I've ever got to really properly collaborate with this vocalist on a track. So you'll see what it is this week. Some of you might be like, "Oh, that's a surprising cool." I think so. I hope so. So look for that, and then we'll talk about it next week. What else we got here? Let's see. I'm in Scotland, and it's somebody was just saying they're in Hertfordshire, UK, and it's rainy. Beautiful day here in Scotland today. I got off the bus this morning, got out, and on the sidewalk, and I was like, "Why is it so warm? We're in Scotland. It's not warm, but it's probably 50 Fahrenheit. Somewhere around 10 Celsius, which is pretty darn warm for February in Scotland, and to not be raining and stuff. It was a great day. Really, really nice. I put up a photo today from a little coffee shop here. This is not a big town. If you look on the map, I mean, it's kind of a small place. Let me show you this photo I took today, though, from this coffee shop. That was just really awesome. With a big old cathedral right next door. It's really cool. I think you can see that probably, right? Oh, it's really blowing out, isn't it? Wow, there you go. Sitting there having coffee this morning, waiting to get into my hotel room. Just beautiful. Scotland's something else. If you haven't been, you should visit. It's a vibe. Really cool. Okay, I'm going to work my way down through the chat here and see what you guys are talking about. Lucky Sing Music said, sorry I missed you in Shrewsbury this week. At least I got to see you in Wolverhampton with Satch Five Band. Awesome. A lot of people that have been in the meet and greet for Classic Rock Show said they saw the Wolverhampton show. Some Manchester, but a lot of people said they made it to the Wolverhampton show, that they really enjoyed it, which is awesome. So thanks for coming out and seeing us. And what else have we got here? Let's see. What else? Hello from Wisconsin. What's up? Out there in the land of cheese, right? Saw Pete at Salford last night. It was rocking and a bit feisty. It was a bit feisty, especially down front in front of me. We played a Def Leppard song in the set, and some guys with Def Leppard shirts showed up and rocked out in front for a while. That was awesome. Have you played Michael Nielsen's Rock IR pack? I have not. I like Michael a lot, though. He's awesome. Great guy, and he always does good work. So I'd like to try it out for sure. Are you still using the H90? Yes, I am. Have you replaced it with a VP4 or plan to do so? Not right away. The VP4 is great, and I've got it on another board. I do have it on a pedal board. It's just on my medium size pedal board. I have a board that's kind of more of a mid-size board, I would say, and that board I put the VP4 on to use with some other assorted pedals kind of in front of the amp, and the VP4 is doing all the post stuff in the loop. So drinking culture. Yeah, exactly. But other board, has that H90 on it still. I've got HD90 and SD3000. And I've got a lot of sounds that I already did. Like, for instance, the whole Satch Vi, like everything I've learned, there's going to be new songs coming. But everything I've done so far, like for songs for Satch Vi is all programmed on the H90 and on the SD3000, as well as this band, the Classic Rock Show. There's a whole bunch that's programmed and ready to go. So I kind of don't see the point of it'd be a lot of work to get in there and do it again. Although VP4 is very fast to work with because of the one editor, it's just easy. So it wouldn't take me as long as it did to program the H90 and the SD3000, which takes some effort. But they sound really good. VP4 sounds great too. Just two good options, There's Jason Hobbs. He's up in Alberta, Canada. My home and native land, true patriot love. Oh, what else we got here? Looking through the chat. Do you have some teasers on the new Friedman IR amp? Well, there's no IR amp to speak of other than, you mean the load box? which we talked about pretty extensively last week. I'm actually going to have one out here pretty soon, and I think within it's not going to be available until mid-year, but I'm going to do some serious beta testing out here on the road, so that'll be fun. What I do right now is I have two heads in stereo, and so I'm using the effects loop return of us. So I'm using one head as the main tone source and send out to the pedal board. Once things split into stereo, it comes back, goes into the effects return of that amp and the effects return of a second PT100. So what I'm going to try and do, and this is the goal here, is go to one head, load it down, and then I'll use the effects loop on the load box instead, split into stereo and do using the reamp, using the new power amp and stuff like that in the IR load. So that's coming. And maybe I'm even doing that this week. We'll see. Rest in peace to Catherine O'Hara. She was brilliant. Canadian. I watched her back. I mean, as a kid, I remember her on SCTV. Growing up, and she was hilarious and always awesome. Of course, did great work later on. With Eugene Levy and stuff. I mean, she was in all this. She was in Best in Show, right? She was in so much great. Was she in A Mighty Wind? I gotta go back and revisit all the great movies that she was in. But I just remember from being a boy and watching her and SCTVing, every Joe Flaherty, John Candy, and all those, Rick Moranis. It was so awesome growing up. It was so bizarre. In fact, they filmed a lot of it in Edmonton, SCTV, probably because it was cheap or something. I don't know. I mean, that show, I just remember growing up in the early 80s, a lot of it was shot in Edmonton, my hometown. So I think she was there then, when she was just getting her start and everything. Pretty great. Anyways, rest in peace to her for sure. Great person, great Canadian, great career. Pete's hotel room is nicer than my bedroom. It's a nice little hotel actually today. It's kind of an inn, really. No elevator. That's the difference between an inn and a hotel. Only a couple floors, and there's only stairs with carpet going up to your room. Let's see. Hey, Pete, thanks for the time. As usual, working on my Sir Telecaster as we speak. Can you give your opinion on the Friedman JEL20? Really good. The JEL20 is it kind of will do like a cool clean, and then it has a really nice kind of modded JCM 800 thing going on. Great rock amp, it's not really like the metal head, but it's a great rock and hard rock amp. I think like really, really good sounding. Sounds big. Almost live show 400. That's right. Yeah, the 400 is coming pretty soon. What part of Scotland are you in? So really close to Edinburgh. It's kind of like, I guess we're sort of, when I think about that, I want to say the middle of Scotland, right? That's where I sort of always think about it. Let's see. I mean, really, smack dab in the middle, kind of. A ways from. You've basically kind of got is it the south really, or is it the middle? I think of it as the middle. I guess it's somewhat south, but it's if you look at the map there, I'm right there in the smack dab in the center, kind of. So there's a big bridge that goes across, and then Edinburgh's basically on the other side. We're playing there as well, so we've got 2 gigs right around these parts. We don't mess around. We play everywhere. Met you in Wales. That place was really great. Beautiful town by the sea that we played. Landuno. I don't want to screw up the, but it was a terrific gig and a really, really nice place. Beautiful seashore, and had a nice day that day. It was one of the better days of the tour too, weather-wise. I got crappy later and started to rain. Windy later in the day, but in the morning, wow, was it ever nice. I went for a walk by the sea. It was terrific. Great to meet you as well, man. And I was happy to sign your CD and your pick guard. Yeah. That cathedral is next door to the library where Richard Jobson from the Skids wrote The Saints and Are Coming Later covered by Green Day and U2. Did I meet you last night? I didn't, did I? Somebody told me that story last night. Maybe it was you. Naive Steve. If it was you, then now I'm putting the face to the name. And anyways, very interesting. Very interesting. Very interesting. All right. Are you using in-ears on this tour? Mainly, yeah. After using in-ears for a while, you want to go back to OG wedges. I get it. I mean, I pull the ears out often in the second set, about halfway through. Some nights I leave them in the whole time, but I cannot deny that I just have a more visceral, enjoyable time without them in. I don't mind wearing them for the whole first set because it's a little more. In our band, we do 2 sets, and it's a little more like the first set is a little more serious, and it's sit down, and people get up and stand a little bit and stuff during it, but it's a bit more of a sit down affair, I guess. Really, I don't know why it just always works out that way. And then traditionally with this classic rock show band, midway through the second set, everybody gets up, and then it's a rock party until the end, the last 45 minutes or so. It's almost like 2 shows in one, I guess, or something. But and when that happens, I tend to pull the inners out because I just want to rock and I want to hear the crowd. And I don't like being so isolated from the crowd. That's one thing I don't like about them. The things I do like about them is my ears are very sensitive now with the amount of years that I've been doing this particular line of work. And they do tend to whistle and ring, and just I'm on the edge of probably, hearing loss of some sort. And so I'm always balancing that, like, well, like with anything, when you get older, you do risky things, and it's even more risky than when you were younger. So, but it's hard to deny that I just enjoy playing more without them, and I play a little more free and a little more. It's just a little more enjoyable. So, yeah. Thoughts on getting a good mix? Well, having everything really balanced so that you can be in the band is really important. Like making sure, it's a nice clean mix. I tend to find in-ears a lot of times have too much bass. Especially when you're on stage, like last night, bass pins were on stage. If it depends on the PA in a hall, it really depends on the PA. Because if the PA is all flowing and the bass pins are far away, or they're using rear firing subs or whatever they're called, where they're actually out of phase and they're not, there's a whole thing they can do where, if subs are under the stage, the whole stage is going like this, but it sounds great out front. There's a thing they can do where, with certain types of subwoofers, where that doesn't happen, they make them going backwards out of phase, and then it sounds way more balanced on stage. All this is a factor because bass just travels, and it's so funny in ears. If the PA is off, it can sound like, wow, I can barely hear the bass, I don't have much bass. And then if the PA is on in certain venues, and it'll sound like I've got so much bass in my mix. But it's really just because bass is I don't know if the word is omnidirectional or what, but it just gets in your bones, and it's everywhere, and it's so you can't get away from it sometimes. And there's tons of bass, and then you got to turn your in-ears way up and all that. So anyway, I find it's not really that necessary to have in-ears that have a ton of bass. Bass players might disagree, but for me, for the amount of bass that I want to hear, it's if there's a ton coming through on stage anyway, just sealing your ears doesn't really get rid of it because your bones conduct it, and then it sounds loud. So I don't need more. So I need in-ears with really good mid-range through high-end clarity for me. So I'm going to suggest, that you don't really need, in my experience, anything with more than 3 drivers or 4 or 5 drivers. I think the current in-ears I have 5, and they're A5s from 64 years. They're quite good. They're very balanced sounding to me. And then a lot of other in-ears that are like 12 drivers, and UE, certain ones, and they've just got a lot of bass to me and not a lot of clarity on the top end. I usually end up, here's the other thing you can do is, on the board with the monitor person, or if you're doing your own in-ears, set up an EQ on the channel for your own mix. And it's just you can generally, every output on a decent quality monitor board will have its own, like the digital ones. You're able to put a master graphic or whatever on the or parametric on the channel, and then you can get in there and kind of tweak for your particular brand of in-ears, an overall EQ. So I always do that, and I always end up having a bit of a gentle shelf above 2 or 3K where I'm just adding some top end. I usually am dipping somewhere down around 190 or something, and then I've got a high pass set at usually like 100 or something, and I'm lopping off everything below that to just get rid of mud. And then your mileage may vary. You might want to do other things in there. So that's one thing you can do. But definitely spending a little bit of time to have the drummer go around the kit, make sure everything sounds really balanced, that there's not one tom mic that's super loud compared to the others or something, or just getting a really, really good balanced drum mix is nice. Making sure you got enough hi-hat in your mix so that you can really hear time. And then I largely because it's just a selfish thing to enjoy the in-ear mix more, I do a lot of stereo stuff. So like some stereo delays, and if the song will tolerate it, if you're or you got tap tempo on your delay, and you can do some stereo, having a little bit of echo, sometimes verbs and stuff. I do some big ambient stuff on this gig, where I've got even Eventide Black Hole and long delays I've got really dialed in, and they're fun to play in in-ears. Like we played the song Time by Pink Floyd, and I play the simple guitar part on that. James takes the lead and all the Gilmore stuff, and I'm doing the big, it's really just whole notes a lot of the time, where I'm hitting like an F sharp, bung, 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 with that delay going. And I've got the delay, I specifically did it so that it's stereo, so that like it's I guess it's untimed. I guess it's an eighth note. Dun, 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 dun. The delay, and I did it so that it filters out, and it when it filters out, it slightly splits in stereo and gets more narrow and mid-rangey so it's got a vibe to it. So even just little things like that are really fun to play when they're in in-ears, because I can have a very stereo kind of effect, and it just makes it more fun. We do some Rush, and I've got a super stereo kind of 80s Rush sound going with in my ears. It's very wide and sounds really fun and full. So all that, spending some time on your guitar sound, if you can do a stereo thing, then it's fun in the PA too, for the sound guy and to mix, and for the folks to hear in the PA. So because it's one weird thing is always that mono guitar that's like, just what do you do with it? You put it right in the middle. It's kind of, and I'll tell you what I'm really looking forward to this week with getting the box, the IR load. Is starting to use some IRs in my in-ears, because it's been a few years since I've done that, especially on this. I've done it before in the past, but being able to really dial in an IR that sounds great in the house, and also it's fun to listen to in the in-ears, as opposed to just using 57s, because I'm so bored of 57s, to be honest. They're a great mic, and they sound good in the PA. When I watch, playback of this, it's cool. But in in-ears, I don't know what it is. I mean, do you guys experience that with in-ears at all? I just find they're so scratchy sounding, and just kind of like a little bit boring in the in-ears. Like they got this, you know what I'm talking about? The scratchy guitar sound. Like it doesn't sound like beefy and rich and like, defined and like it always sounds a little like shitty and one-dimensional, with a 57 on a greenback or something. It's just in in-ears. And then you hear it. I've sometimes got to take them out and then go listen to the PA and go, yeah, it sounds good in the PA. It sounds like you want it to. In in-ears, it's just this sound that's like annoying. And I think you can get closer to, even in headphones, I don't notice that as much. And I notice a bit in headphones, but like in-ears, for whatever reason, it's just, I don't know, for things that cost like $1,000 or $2,000 or $1,500 or $1,200 for a good set of in-ears, why do they not sound at least as good headphones? To me, ever. Like they just don't. I don't know what it is. It's like a nice pair of, Audio Technica or Bear, just good sounding headphones always sounds like better to me than whatever goes on when you stick things in your ears and seal up, and everything else sounds pretty good, but in ears just they sound stuffy and scratchy to me all the time, you know. So that said, we've got a great monitor guy out here, and he does a good job, and I've got a good mix. It's very balanced. Every song is very defined. I've got everything right where it should be because he's got a scene for every song, and it's nice to play to, you know. Certainly not that it's not his fault, you know. But I always have more fun when I pull them out, and I've got a great wedge. So, yeah. On that note, IRs and boxes and stuff. Scored a Survey Active Load IR. Can't wait to test it out recording with my Pete Thorn signature HSS. Give it a try, man. It makes recording really easy. So much fun. Yeah. I'll be at the Atlantic City show, but didn't buy any meet and greet. Is there a way I can get Steve and Joe to sign my Ibanez? I mean, generally they're in and out of there pretty quick, and the meet and greet is the way. That's the best thing that I can recommend. You know, they always have a plan to, and they've generally got their significant others and stuff like that, and your family, and it's like they want to kind of get in the venue and do the assigned time meet and greet, stuff like that, play a great show, and then they generally, you know, kind of it's time to leave after, and there's not a lot of, you know, so I would say the meet and greet's the best. That's the best thing I can recommend. Yeah. I've got a super chat I got to get to. Oh, there's a couple there. Sorry, I missed this one already. There's Victor. Thanks, man. Appreciate that. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Hi, Pete. Just want to say you're awesome. Thank you. Appreciate it. You guys are too kind. Lauren's here. He says, hello, Pete and Pete friends. Lauren, I forgot to tell you, I listened to your song. It was really, really cool, the one that you did. You sent me a message a few weeks ago, and I did listen to it that day when you reminded me. So, yeah, very nice, my friend. Let's see. Joe says, asked up before, but I forget which one you told me to check out. Easy Drummer or Superior. I don't want to spend too much cash. Well, you know, the nice thing is that I think when you get into Easy Drummer, there might even be upgrade plans to go to Superior. I still use Easy Drummer sometimes, so I've got both. But Easy Drummer is a great way to see if you like the basic idea. And I think you'll find when you get it, the sounds will be familiar. This is a tune track drum plugin that I use a lot on my tracks and songs. Like almost 90% of what I do is, you know, is Easy Drummer, or Superior, a tune track drum plugin. Yeah. So start with Easy Drummer and see how you like it. And then if you get hooked like I did, I was like, well, it's no brainer to get Superior. And now I use that all the time. But it's you know, you can get great work done with Easy Drummer. Easy Drummer 3, I think it is now. It's the current version. On tour, how much time do you get to sound check? We generally, in this band, don't spend a lot of time. Half an hour tops. Just a couple tunes, work out any issues, you know, if there's something we got to go over, or if there's something sound-wise we've got to go over. We're generally trying to hit, you know, there's some acoustic guitars in the show, there's electric guitars, there's some real loud stuff, there's more quiet stuff. We hit, you know, bits of all of that, make sure that the keyboards are all tested and stuff like that. Everything gets played at least to make sure it works, and then we break for dinner. We play a lot in this band. I mean, we do generally 3 shows in a row and then take a day off. Then we might do another 3 in a row and a day off. I mean, we're playing like 6 shows a week, 5 to 6 a week, I would say. Sometimes it's 4 in a row. I think we've got a 4 in a row coming up pretty soon. So because of that, it almost feels like when you hit the stage for the gig, like you just got off stage from the night before, especially once you're 2 nights into a 4-night run or something. So we play a lot. We just don't really. When you play that much, you want to save it for the gig. And it's a pretty long show. It's 2.5 hours. So that means, you know, in a given week, I'm on stage 2.5 hours, 6 nights out of the week. You know, it's a fair amount of playing, you know, at full energy, you know, stage concentration playing. So a half-hour sound check, you know, bumps that up to about 3 hours of being on stage 6 days a week is quite a bit, I think, maybe, you know, so. You gotta leave time for other things like doing your laundry and doing Sunday Live. Yeah. Braxall says, are you allowed to suggest Divide play Eugene's Trick Bag? I let them tell me what to do, man, in that band. I'm there to be of service. Why new ebony board on the new PT Standard? On the new guitar, it was always rosewood. So the double humbucker version, if you look back, it's the same woods. You know, the new version of the guitar is basically cosmetically different, and the neck shape's different because we decided to use my signature neck shape across the line. So it's the same neck shape on everything now. Different radius on the P3 traditional. It's a 9 to 14. Everything else is the Sur, sort of more standard 10 to 14, as opposed to 9 to 12. Did I say 9 to 14? I meant 9 to 12 on the PT traditional, 10 to 14 on the other models. But the new version of the guitar with the zebra pickups and stuff like that is otherwise identical to the original version. It's just really kind of updated cosmetic. And we're using the Sur tremolo on it now, which we're also doing on the PT traditional. It's the standard Sur, but this on the PT standard HH, it's got the solid saddles. That's the one thing we did different, is solid saddles instead of the angled versions. So yeah. Was that right? Nazareth came from here. That I kind of somewhere in the back of my mind remember. That's so awesome. I wanted to play a Nazareth song this year. I had this idea this year of doing This Flight Tonight. Does anybody out there know the song? If you're Canadian, you know it because it was a big hit in Canada. I think it came out around 74 or 75. And I didn't even realize until way late on, and that's a cover of a Joni Mitchell song from Blue that came out just a few years earlier. And I went and listened to the Joni version, which is amazing. And I had this idea of this year doing the Joni version segueing into the Nazareth version, just to show off how I always thought it was really cool how, like Bob Dylan and Hendrix or Joni and Nazareth, how sometimes bands would do radically different versions of songs that had only been released a few years earlier. That's one thing I really miss about the spontaneity and fun, the way that people used to do stuff like that. And so if you've never heard go give a listen to the Joni Mitchell version of This Flight Tonight and the Nazareth version of This Flight Tonight. And I really wanted to make a thing out of it and do it this year because I love Nazareth, growing up but I do remember that there's part of somewhere in your neural pathway in there, Naive Steve, that they were from here originally. That's somewhere in there. I definitely, I knew they were Scottish, but I really loved Nazareth growing up. Maybe the Love Hurts too, right? Was that also a cover? I think it was, right? Great song, and that use of I think it's Ebo on the solo, which is maybe one of the first and most prominent uses of Ebo on anything, I think, because it was so cool on that solo. It had to be Ebo. Anyway. All right, what's this? I know it's probably on one of your videos, but can you tell us your go-to preamps when tracking lead guitars, whether it's home or booked studio? Oh, I see what you mean. Well, in my studio, I have basically the big two, which I consider to be, the most commonly used, which are API and Neve. My Neves are Averill, or BAE, I guess. And basically two 1073s with the Steve Stevens mod, they call it, which is basically it's like two 1073 pre's in a single BAE rack unit that has what am I trying to say? Summing output on it, so that I can sum them together. I can have like a 57 and a ribbon or whatever I want on the cab. And then the APIs are two 312 style pre's that I have. Now I've been testing out a new mic pre. That's something that it's a Marist thing, and more on that to come. But it's kind of a prototype right now. But it's basically API style pre's. And but yeah, basically, long story short, Neve or API. Neve's a little fatter, warmer, aggressive in a cool way, but it's also a little gushier. API is just like punch, boom, great. You can't go wrong with a good 312 or a 1073 on guitar. What do you think of the Quad Cortex gear? I've been thinking of grabbing the Mini. I mean, super cool. I'm going to grab one as well soon. and check it out. Uh, great. I mean, it's amazing the power you can pack into something so small these days. I'm sure I will make great use of it. That said, I already use the quad cortex, and I find it's great as it is and not that big. So, it's already small enough that I take it in a backpack. I've done gigs where I've flown out with nothing but the quad cortex and Seymour Duncan Power Stage in a backpack and rented a cabinet and then done a show. So I find it reasonably small already, but to have an even smaller one, sure. I mean, it's amazing, And I love the quad cortex sonically and the workflow. I love, I've really sort of bonded with the neural stuff. It just, I love the sort of ease of use, the editors, just the streamlined kind of way it all works and stuff is really cool. Any experience with the Dunlop Mini versus the full size? Well, I have the Mini on my board for many years now, and it works great. It's a great sounding wah. I'm not a wah aficionado. I'm not like, ooh, this one for this music and this one for this music. Although I do love and did use recently in Japan my Petrucci wah. I took it over to Japan and used it over there and it's got this throaty, vocal and seems to add gain. I think it's got a gain boost in it when I turn it on. But it's very cool. Yeah. Anyways, so it's really good. If you need to save space on your pedal board, I think it's terrific. You and James playing the Freebird solo together. Thanks, man. Yeah, it's fun. We have a great time doing that. We've played it so many times now that it's like really locked in there. I don't have to think about it much anymore. And actually a little bit of slop on it if somebody makes a mistake and goes into the wrong, because the Freebird solo is really long, obviously, stating the obvious. But if somebody goes into the wrong section, it's like, oh yeah, where are we? And it kind of sounds cool when you almost if you play it too perfectly, it's not as cool as when there's some slop, because the original had slop. So yeah. Here's somebody that lived in Edmonton, north of Edmonton in '82 and was a hose head. Me too, brother. I was there then. SCTV was a badass show to watch in the US. The humor was dry, so dry and silly. And if you want to see Catherine O'Hara, Google or YouTube search, what are they called? The Recess Monkeys, SCTV. And she's in that. It's awesome. It's supposed to be, if you're Canadian as well, if you've never seen it, because if you'll know what I'm talking about, it's Eugene Levy and John Candy and Rick Moranis, and they're playing a Chilliwack song, their hit, Gone, Gone, Guns, Are We Going So Long? They're playing that song on what's supposed to be a high school or junior high telethon, and Catherine O'Hara intros them. And they play an amazing version of it, and they actually play the song as a three-piece. And it's awesome. And then afterwards, she says, great. Or she says, decent. That should get those phones ringing. Decent. I forgot that word, like as a Canadian growing up. We used to say decent. If it was good, if it was cool. Decent. Decent. That should get those phones ringing. Okay. Here's for a decent. That is weird. I didn't see that. That is for a decent cup of coffee. That a little creeped out right now. It's one of those things. I don't say. It's probably been a long time since I said the word decent, and that's the next thing up. Wow. Thank you, my friend, but that's creeping me out a little bit. You ever have those serendipitous things happen? It was meant to be. I just got the chills a little bit. Always great to see and hear what you're up to. Thank you, man. And thanks for the super chat and for the decent cup of coffee. I swear I didn't see that word before I just told that story. I didn't see the post. That is so bizarre. Awesome. Thanks, man. Thanks for the super chat. Rebuilding an old Japanese-made Tele Squire. I only play at home, changing all the electronics. Should I bother shielding? I don't know, man. Shielding, I don't know that it does anything. If the thing has got the proper ground wire to the bridge and everything, just wire it up like an old one, exactly. I've never noticed a difference with shielding and lower noise. I just haven't. And you only play at home, so you're better off, if you want to get, low noise and stuff like that, just getting some sort of hum canceling, By the way, Lindy Fralin, if you want a great one, wow, what a great pickup. He makes this Tele bridge pickup that's hum canceling. I think it's a stack, a traditional kind of, and that guitar, Dave Friedman has one. It is so quiet. Whereas other guitars, even it's quieter than other humbuckers that I've heard at his shop, but a good sounding quiet Telly bridge pickup. So check that out if you're thinking of getting pickups. Caught the gig last night. Amazing experience. Thanks. Need to bring my 10-year-old next time. Wild Horses was exceptional. Thanks, Philip. That was a fun one last night. We're doing a version of Wild Horses as a duet with Jess and Jesse singing. Two different people, Jess and Jesse. And a little acoustic action. I'd like to thanks for the super chat as well, Phil. Appreciate you. Glad to see you better. I'd like to ask if you recommend 7-string guitars for a regular rock guitarist, or is it just unnecessary? Well, it's just another fun creative option. To be honest, I was never that interested, and then I got one because I joined the Satch Vai band and needed one for some Steve Vai material. So in short order, I had Sir make one, and they were so great doing it. And it's probably the only 7-string I'll ever need. It's fantastic, but I have written a bunch of stuff. I mean, my latest video that I just did for the Schultz Sugar Cone, which I haven't talked yet about today, but I put out a video this week. It's doing quite well. It's had some good views. But I used the 7-string in that. It's just fun to write on. So if you're looking for, you either need one to play some material, by either Steve Vai or Korn or something, or somebody that used 7-string, or you want to expand your horizons. And it's really cool for that. It is fun. I always like the challenge, of trying different things and for writing and to open up the doors. Wales, home of Chris Buck. Yeah, I've hung out with Chris a little bit in Cardiff. He's amazing. Congratulations to him on his new Rev Star signature version guitar as well. Yeah. It's 6:59, guys. I'm going to hang for another few minutes. I'm going to then go get a little dinner because I'm in a small town in Scotland, and it's places close early on Sunday. So there's a place that closes at 8 that I want to get to by 7:30 or so. So I'll hang till about 6:15. We'll go an hour this week. Thanks for being here this week as well. It's another odd time, but we got over 200 people. There's 237, I think. That's awesome. Thank you guys for showing up. Good times. Yeah, I don't know if I want to touch on this one, but we'll look at it. I mean, it's a sad situation, but your Queen may not be touring in USA because of safety issues. I think we'll probably see more of that. No comment because I want to keep it all positive on my show. But yeah, I did see that. And that's true. That's just news. Where are your Edinburgh gigs? So the Queen's, I think it's a place called the Queen's Hall, which is a small venue that's got a small stage, but it rocks. It's really fun. We've been playing a different, maybe it's not the Queen's Hall. Okay, let's look at the venue because you asked and I can get to that easy enough on Master Tour here. Tomorrow we play a place called the Alhambra Theater just north here in Dunfermline that you could come up to. But otherwise, barring that, if you want to come to the Edinburgh, proper gig, we're playing the Glasgow Royal Concert Hall. That's a big one. I played there with Steve and Joe and also in the past with Classic Rock Show. But we're playing there on the 13th of February, a Friday night, if you wanted to come to Glasgow. But Edinburgh, where the heck is it? There it is. The Queen's Hall. That's right. It's the Queen's Hall. That is the old place that we used to play. The other place where we've been playing the last few years is a bigger venue, but it wasn't available this year. It was difficult to book and da-da-da-da-da. So we ended up back at the Queen's Hall. It's a really fun one. It'll go off. Not the best sounding place, a little chaotic sounding, but it's a total, kind of ends up being a fun, messy rock and roll gig. So come see us there. We don't have any video in there, I don't think. It's just the light show and a smaller stage with no risers and because of the size of the venue. But it's just a different kind of show, man. It's okay. Heading to Japan, I always check out Ochanomizu, but wondering if you have any other store location. Yeah, sure. Check out Hyper Guitars, which is really close to the new Fender store also in Harajuku. Hyper Guitars is one of the most amazing vintage guitar stores in the world, I think. And the Fender store is something to see. It's 5 floors or something of amazing, for a guitar store to exist like that. It's pretty wild. In Harajuku, and there's lots of other fun stuff to do around there and see stores and stuff. So check out those two. And then beyond that, I would say Guitar Traders is another favorite of mine in Daikanyama. Great guitar store, medium size on the, kind of small, medium sized vintage guitar store, beautiful selection, super top notch. They're a little stuck up in there. I bought a guitar there once, man. It was really expensive. They still don't treat me with any kind of like, not that I expected. I just expect a little more like, there's just a little like, you gotta, there's a lot of the cultural differences when you go to Japan, and so you got to take that into account. Maybe they're not stuck up. Maybe it just is what it is, and they've got policy and rules because it's a very rules-based culture. So always remember that, because I know even John Shanks and Phil X went in there once, and they didn't get treated that great. But I think like they've got a lot of old Fender amps in there. I think maybe Phil put his foot up on a Fender amp and pulled an SG down or something. They were like, losing their minds, and he's like, "What's the big deal?" But they don't like you to sit on the amps. They don't like you to put your feet on the amps. They don't like you to take guitars down without them asking. It's very, and they don't care if you're a rock star or in Bon Jovi. That's how it is. It's just kind of the vibe in that shop. So as long as you're cool with that, I'll put it this way. I mean, you guys know I bought a 53 Les Paul conversion recently. There was a guitar case in there. I went in there a little while ago, and there was a guitar case that I could see on it. It said, I think it said 54, 55 Les Paul conversion in tape on the case. And I went, ooh, because I've been looking for a conversion for a long time. I've bought an expensive guitar in this place, and I was like, ooh, this guitar, what is it? And they were like, 50 conversion. Can I see it? No. They wouldn't show it to me, and I'm like, what do you mean no? Like, is it for sale? Oh, it's not ready yet. So they're very like, it's not, I'd be giving them the benefit of the doubt. It's not that they don't want to show it to me. It's that maybe it hasn't been cleaned or set up to their satisfaction. But I don't care. I want to see the guitar because they're hard to see. And I'm leaving in a week. It was right before I ended up coming back to LA, I remember. And literally I came back to LA and then bought a conversion the next month from somewhere else, They could have sold it to me maybe had it been cool, but they wouldn't show it to me, So then I left and I was like, okay. And I always leave that place with a little bit of that. Just, doesn't mean I wouldn't buy something from them again if they're definitely, they're a reliable store. They've got top-notch stuff. It's really nice, but it's just so kind of dry in there with not the store. The store is really cool, but the attitude, But go anyway. Just giving you the little caveat, in advance. And that's my feel on Guitar Trader. Daikanyama, nice neighborhood too to walk around. There's a lot of good shopping around there and restaurants and stuff. It's kind of high end, frou, but it's nice. I really dig it there. Not far from Shibuya. If you got maps on your phone, which everybody does, of course, and you're at Shibuya Station, you can walk there in about 20 minutes from Shibuya instead of taking a train, and it's a nice walk. I love the walk because it takes you through out of Shibuya proper. Sort of, you go over the freeway and then you walk up this hill, and then it's a nice neighborhood where you're in, kind of a nice high-end residential neighborhood, walking around, and there's a little restaurant here or something, or a little, whatever, and it kind of takes you, and then you get to this other area of, and so I love walking around in Japan, as opposed to always just subway, or the Chikatetsu, the subway, or the trains, the Densha or the Chikatetsu. Yeah. Any ideas on tube power amps? There's not that many. Fryette is one. You mentioned you've got a Fryette, but the fan does your head in. It's one of the only ones in the game, really, unless you want to get something older, maybe like a, you could look for an old Mesa 5050 or something like that. But there's not a heck of them out there. A heck of a lot of them out there being made. So, yeah. Yeah. What else we got here? Inner ears fall short in reproducing the bass with balance and clarity. Never able to get a faithful copy of the room audio from them. I mean, yeah, so you're a bass player. Yeah, you're probably more picky about bass than me because I just don't. I'm always worried about guitar and clarity. You're like, no, I want the low stuff and clarity. There's a lot of good ones out there, and it's all about, with bass, it's all about the seal. Like, you got to get an in-ear where the mold is good and it seals right, and then the bass will conduct properly in your head and all that. If the seal's not good, your in-ears won't sound good. But yeah. That's, that's all I know. Do you ever worry that you aren't hearing things properly anymore after all the years of rocking? A little bit, but then when I balance, mixes and things, and then I ask people, they're generally like, "No, it sounds good," And I'll check against other things, against mixes I really like, and uh, and I'll use some of the tools that are available these days to kind of balance things out and see if I'm, like the one good use of AI, like the mastering plugin for Logic now is really cool for like even for just because it definitely sounds better when you pop it on mixes a lot. Whatever it does, it even things out in a cool way. But it's cool to see like how far off you were with your mix. Like, and if you're not that far off, then from what it's saying would make it balanced. It kind of analyzes your mix and generates an EQ curve where it says this is what you should be doing to it, and then you can apply it at any amount from 0 to 200%. And if you only use a little bit of it, and you're like, well, that does sound better just right then, and that's cool. It's like maybe do you know what I mean? So it's like I use some of those tools to kind of check how far out I am. Like sometimes I try and get a mix really balanced without needing too much of that stuff. So it's always great when you make a record or something. You go to the mastering engineer and they're like, don't really need to do that much. Just a little bit of this and this, and sweeten it up. Pretty good mixes. So yeah. I am gonna work through the chat quicker here because I'm pretty far behind. I'm like probably a half hour behind, and I gotta go in about a little under 10 minutes. So let's see here. Do you keep in contact with and have future collab ideas with Ian Thornley? Well, maybe we've got something. That's all I'll say. That's all I'll say. But I love Ian. He's the best. But we go through periods of time where we don't talk that much, but then I always reconnect with him. He's awesome. So yeah, but might have something brewing. Yep. What else we got here? There's a super chat from somebody in Europe. Thanks for being my guiding light. Oh, that's nice, man. Thank you. Appreciate that. Hey, anything I can do to provide a little bit of entertainment or value to your day, I'm here for you. Thank you. When Hair of the Dog came on at the high school dance, look out. Heartbreaker, soul shaker. Yeah, that's a good one. If you don't know Hair of the Dog by Nazareth, give it a listen. Great rock and roll tune. Wow. Good stuff. Helping to keep the caffeine flowing, says Arthur. Thank you, man. Appreciate that. Really loving that new LP style guitar you're rocking. Is that the Aura? Not really even that new. Just I've had it out for a number of years now. And John was kind enough to lend me a prototype. I've got another one now that he finished for me. It's a long story, but that's back in LA. If you saw pictures of it with the red kind of more dark burst or bourbon burst sort of finish on it. Really beautiful. So this is my last tour, I think, that I'm doing with the one that I've got out here. I'm going to bring it back and return it to the nice folks from Sir because it is a prototype. But I got to say, I mean, the new one I've got available is identical, but I will miss this one because it's like, you get used to a guitar, and I've realized how amazing this Aura that I have out here. You can see I'm using it in videos and stuff on YouTube and stuff that people have uploaded from this year's tour as well as previous years. And it's such a good guitar. It just doesn't go out of tune. I'll give you an indication. I'll play the whole damn Freebird solo on it and then check my tuning afterwards, and it's still in tune. For a Les Paul style guitar, that's just incredible, Just incredible. So anyway. What else? What else we got here? I still say decent, says Todd. Sorry to creep you out. No, it was good. I like it was a good creep out. I love that serendipitous stuff. How weird is that? Like I haven't thought about the yeah, it's just so strange. I used decent to describe dinner one night when I was a teen and my mother was offended. Yeah, mine probably would have been too, but it generally meant cool. Like it's actually like kind of a compliment. Decent. Like damn good, pretty good. Pretty darn good. Decent. It actually doesn't mean that. It means it's okay. But we used to use it. Yeah, decent. Yeah. Love the new HH blacktop, wood scrape binding, wood back and neck. What's the finish like on the neck? Just a kind of what we call butcher block. It's not really gloss or satin. It's sort of closer to a satin, but a bit more like feels a bit like raw wood, although it is got a protection on it. It's not raw wood, so they figured out a way to do that. Think of a butcher block like a cutting block that you'd use in the kitchen. It's got that kind of feel. It's very nice, warm feeling, you know? Yeah. Yeah. Excuse me, I burped. How rude. Oh, yeah. Damn it. When I get on these chats, I get all pumped and want to play. That's the best, Arthur. Todd says, thanks for doing this. Take care. Thanks, man. Appreciate you. Saw the Nottingham show. Oh, great. Love playing there. Great fun. Your tones were killer, especially the Sir LP. I have to say a couple times the sound guy didn't have you very loud in the mix. Ooh, I'm going to rough him up. Do you remember what songs in particular? He's pretty damn good, I think, for the most part. And when I see videos online, I don't have a lot to complain about. That's for sure. He's a rocker. He gets guitar, and occasionally, to be honest, there's certain tunes like I saw. We do "Turn It On Again" by Genesis, and I saw a video the other day, and I just thought the guitars were too hot because I think it's more. It sounds like a rock band playing it, which is cool. But if you're going for kind of the Genesis sound, the keys are really prominent, and the guitars just kind of fill in the gap where it's just such an interesting song, Turn It On Again, where the guitars are actually playing the same chords as the keys, same rhythms, big blocky chords, root third, fifth chords, and everything's playing it all together. And it's such a cool song in that way. But it is definitely keys prominent, that tune. So this is kind of interesting, but for the most part, I feel pretty happy with what I hear, so yeah. What else? A couple more here. I got to split in a minute, or I'm going to miss dinner. So, what was the name of that Fralin Telly pickup? I'm not sure, but it's a hum canceling. And Lauren, if you asked, you could just ask Dave Friedman, and he would tell you. Say what's the Fralin in your pink Telly that's hum canceling? He'll tell you what it is. Just send him an email, racksystems@yahoo.com or something. He'll tell you what it is. But if you were to ask Fralin, he would probably remember as well. Be like, what Telly pickup did you send to Friedman that's supposedly a hum canceling? And he would let you know. Yeah. What's on your Mount Rushmore of guitar players? Oh, Jimi Hendrix and Eddie Van Halen, and my greats were, and Joe and Steve, to be honest. I mean, growing up were my, two of my primary influences in the 80s. But I love a lot of different things too. It's hard to just pick, like Pete Townsend, probably, Andy Summers, Alex Lifeson, those guys as well, as the more sort of lead focused guys, I loved all of that growing up. So, yeah. What else? Let's see. I'm going to make sure I didn't miss super chat here, and then I'm going to get going to dinner, guys, just that I don't miss a Sunday night dinner. Let's take a look real quick where I'll be next Sunday, so I can get an idea of whether I'll do. So I've been doing these, earlier ones. Today I did it. I think I started about 10:15 or 10:30 a.m. LA time, so a little later. But next week, let's see. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Saturday. Sunday is a day off again in Watford, so I can do it at this time again. Probably similar thing. I'll try and do it a little bit later than the previous couple weeks when I did. So yeah, that's cool. Yep. The following week after that, I'll be at the De Montfort Hall, where famously the Beatles played, and maybe I'll get the Beatles dressing room like I do sometimes. They stick me in the Beatles dressing room sometimes. That's nice. That one will be an early one in the afternoon. So anyways, you'll see me the next couple of weeks for sure. I'll be here. I'm going to go eat some Italian food. Everybody have an awesome week. Thanks for being here, and thanks for your super chats and everybody being so supportive all the time and coming and hanging out for Sunday Live. Appreciate you all. Thanks to those that came and saw classic rock shows. A bunch of you out there that said you saw a show over the last little while. Appreciate you all, and you guys be nice to one another. What more can we say? I know you are. You always are. It's a good crew here. All right, everybody. Take care. Over and out.